Recording this on my computer. Hello, 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 and welcome to Astro West Underground. I'm here in the dungeon they keep me in because I'm not really fit to be among people a lot of the time. But I'll give you a little bit of history about Astro West. We're a fine mineral gallery located at 102 West 79th Street, almost on Columbus. There's a tiny little store on the corner that cuts us off from being on the corner. And we have amazing merchandise starting at $3, going up to about $500,000. And we also have Astro West Underground. Astro West Underground started around a year before COVID, and it is in-house. We do have a treatment room where if you want to meet with someone face-to-face for Reiki or acupressure or hypnotherapy or tarot readings or medium sitting or whatever you want, you can. We also do a lot of virtual appointments, but COVID almost shut us down. So lockdown was hell. We're calling it Astro West Underground because a lot of these modalities focus on mystery traditions. And Stacy and I are going to get into that in a little while about what people have had to say about homeopathy over the years. And also all those beautiful minerals that we have reformed underground. So it's a perfect fit. But Astro West Underground Education is a new offshoot of that. It's a separate website, which you all registered on, and our own server, so it's completely bulletproof, cannot be hacked or anything. And it's a great community because every time you sign up for a class, you're going to have the replay if you can't make it. For instance, I'll often do development circles. They could be 4 weeks, 6 weeks. If you can't make it every Tuesday or Wednesday night, have no fear. If you're signed up, you will have the replay in your student account in the lesson, and you can catch up. We're also going to put the replay of this in the lesson as well, because there are some people that already texted me and says, I can't make it. What am I going to do? It's like you're going to register and you're going to see it tomorrow. So all the replays are usually up within 24 to 48 hours. But I'm just babbling now, so I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to bring us Stacy Chuli, our resident homeopath. And I'm glad I got that right. So, hi Stacy, how are you? You want to put your mic on? Where are you? I have to ask you to unmute yourself now.
I thought you did that for me. Sorry. Here I am. Hello, hello.
Hi, 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 hi. Hi. So here's the question that everybody in the world hates.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with this. I know. No eye rolling.
No eye rolling. I was thinking about this earlier today. I'm like, God, when did I get started? And I think I have to say, when I started like chiropractic in like 1985, I had a chiropractor who was very, very holistic, and she kind of opened me up to a lot of things. And then my kids, of course, I feel like this is everybody's story, like their kids, my son was always snotty, and my daughter Taylor, my pal, was had eczema, and I was tired of them telling me, to suppress it, to use cortisone and to use steroids, and I wanted an alternative, and they didn't listen to me. And
yeah, they just wanted you to use all those things that are so wonderful for children.
Yeah, and then being told that, you're doing a great disservice to your child. So I went down the path of energy healing in all sorts of different ways, and came across somebody who would introduce me to homeopathy, which I kind of heard of, but she introduced me to the concept of like cures like. And then later on, I was working with my acupuncturist. I was teaching yoga. She's an acupuncturist in the same space. She was practicing homeopathy with really great success, along with her acupuncture. And I became intrigued and fascinated, and that's when I enrolled into school. So,
homeopathy's been around quite a while.
Since the founder, he founded it in the late 1700s, early 1800s, and he was actually a physician and a scholar, a chemist, a scientist, and he was very successful, except he decided to leave the medical field because he thought it was doing more harm than good, because during those times they were using leeches and bloodletting, and he said, I want no part of it.
Barbers.
Yeah.
Barbers, dentists, yeah, all these random people. So it was corrupt all the way back then, huh?
Well, it was right, medicine, right? And using they were using mercury to cure syphilis, and mercury is a neurotoxin, but they would, let's say they were doing their best, but there was a lot of metals they were using that they were probably doing more harm than good. But anyway, that was considered the science of the time. And he decided to he was a translator. He was translating medical texts, and he came across quinine, or cinchona bark, was used for malaria. Am I looking at you, or am I supposed to be looking at the camera? Could
Well,
you
that's
see?
going to be real. You can look at the camera if you want to make a point to people. You can look a little to the right or to the left. I'm sharing all my
I'm looking
camera
at you.
tricks.
I'm like,
How to work a camera. Yeah. If you're looking at me on the screen, you might be looking like that.
Oh my
That's how
God,
I'm looking
no,
at
I'm
you
supposed
like
to look
this.
at.
So the
Anyway,
camera is the camera's all yours, baby. Relax. We're good.
Anyway, so he said, oh, malaria cures. I mean, China bark, Peruvian bark, cures malaria, but there were side effects. He goes, what if, he said, as a healthy person, I took Peruvian bark, would I develop the symptoms of malaria? And he used himself as a guinea pig, and sure enough, he did. He developed the sweats, the fever, and all the symptoms of malaria, and said, oh, well, if something can, so that's where the premise like cures like comes from. If a substance is administered to a healthy person, they will develop the symptoms. They will develop symptoms. If we give that same remedy to a person with those symptoms, it will cure them. So of course it was too harsh to do it that way. So that's where it's called the minimum dose. That was the process of dilution comes in. So they
were like microdosing.
They were microdosing. They were taking the substance and creating a mother tincture out of it, either with alcohol or water, bringing it down to a normal mother tincture, and then they would dilute it with water, succuss it, which is a vigorous vibration of it to increase its potency. Do it again, do it again, do it again, so that that's why homeopathy, there are no side effects, because it's diluted down to not a single molecule of the original substance. So it doesn't cause a side effect, because it's really working in the energy body. And that's another thing. And the third tenet of homeopathy is it's an individualized medicine. So the same hay fever remedy might not be the same for you as it is for somebody else. And incorporated in that is the mental emotional aspect. So for example, if somebody's like just angry a lot, there's a remedy that's more angry. There's other, people
I see. Yeah.
introverted.
So it really kind of takes into consideration the entire pathology of the person, their temperament, their physicality, all that stuff. That's really cool. And it almost sounded like you were explaining like a vaccine. You're giving it, like I remember, I don't remember it, but I have the scar from when I had a little smallpox thing when I was a baby. I'm that old. I remember the Salk vaccine. I didn't get polio. I don't think I did. It's been a while, so I don't quite remember. So it's almost like introducing a fraction of the pathogen so that your body develops its own natural immunity to it. Am I
That's exactly
Oh, good.
the exact same premise, except we're going to a more energetic level. So I'm going to explain this, and I don't want to sound like too crazy, but so what's happening is the remedy is going to give you like an artificial energy disease. Okay, so if I give you, let's use something drastic like lachesis, which is snake venom, right? If I give you that in a homeopathic dose, which is so diluted, there's not a single molecule left in it, but your body, because the remedy contains the imprint and the memory and the information of the snake venom, your body on an energetic level is going to react to that. So it throws off the remedy, so to speak, and kicks in its own vital force to react to that. Is that
So I
clear?
bet you it is. I bet you whoever invented vaccines got the idea from there, because it sounds like, when you get a vaccine, well, formerly, it's usually a broken virus or a broken something. So it's not the full thing. It's just sort of like the essence of it. And it's not enough to harm you, just enough to piss you off. And then your own body starts responding. And then the next time you encounter it, like say it was snake venom, which I would love for my face. I've seen them doing that with people's faces. Um, you have this broke down, raggedy snake venom thing that you take, and you have a little bit of reaction. And then if you get bit by a snake, you're going to be able to fight it off.
That's true. Yes. I mean, it
Okay.
is the same premise. It's like here's like.
Yeah, because I went through that with bees. When I was a kid, I had this ridiculous, I still do have a ridiculous allergy to bees things, but not like it used to be. But there was a combination of venoms. I think it was bee, hornet, and wasp. And it had to be like 10 drops in, I don't know how many ounces of distilled water. And I had to inject that. And then as the 2 weeks, it was for a 2 week period, as it went on, the venom got stronger and stronger and stronger. I would have a mild reaction just at the site of the injection. And then I can get stung by a bee and not go into anaphylactic shock. I can keep out of the, save, to save the ERs for when I'm like all drunked up or something. So, and then I think over the years, what happened is that my entire body adapted to that, which is kind of a cool idea. So you're basically getting a pathogen, breaking it down, breaking it down, breaking it down, and getting to the essence of it. Am I understanding you properly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then that essence, which is pretty harmless, is going to interact, um, with your own physiology,
Right.
and then prevent you from suffering whatever you might if you encountered it without that predisposition. What about emotional illnesses? Like, do they are there remedies? Because remedies, in case anybody doesn't know, either here or on YouTube in the future, when thousands of people are going to be watching this in the middle of the night and booking appointments with you, did they try to address emotional illnesses?
Absolutely deals with emotional illnesses. There's quite a few remedies for anxiety, for
Mhm.
depression, and
So you're
yeah.
basically talking about central nervous system suppressants and things like
Well,
that?
the homeopathy, the medicines come from the pharmacopoeia of,
Right.
you know, pharmacopoeia. I mean, prior to our pharmaceutical companies, that
Mhm.
back in the day they used plants and herbs
Plants. Yeah.
because they do.
Yeah.
It's funny you hear the term full spectrum all the time now, but
Yeah.
they embodied the whole thing.
Hmm.
And they create emotional reactions, or like a plant
Yeah.
has a plant is a feeling thing, like, but
Yeah.
there are remedies that have an affinity for the nervous system. Some have an affinity for the, or just the
Mhm.
tendon. There's, for the blood,
Yeah.
for the heart, for the brain,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
herbs do.
I did
So
a lot of work with aromatherapy in the beginning of the 90s. I had this little company that was chugging along very nicely. And it's very similar because there were things that were central nervous system depressants. And at that point, a lot of people were on Prozac and a lot of people wanted to get off. And if you want to get off an SSRI, it's a really bumpy ride. But there were things like a very fragrant daffodil, Jonquil. Um, Clary sage is a great mood elevator. You can't help smiling once you inhale it and it gets into your bloodstream. So it's kind of interesting. And they had to be diluted ridiculously in order to work. But naysayers, we're going to talk about that now. We're going to broach that subject. I see you smirking aggressively because you feel the same way that I do about
yeah,
it.
bring them
Uh,
on.
well, I've seen it called the pseudoscience, which is BS. I
Mhm.
don't believe it's a pseudoscience. Well, what do you think about all that? I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I'm just going to start dropping F bombs and I don't want to do that.
Well, it's funny because if you Google homeopathy, it'll be like quackery, pseudoscience, and
Yeah.
most people probably have never tried it or have just used it inappropriately. So
Well, big pharma is probably stepping on it.
of course, well, and that's what happened in the first place, because homeopathy has a really interesting history. It was very successful during epidemics.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
during cholera, it had, like, I have the A 48 to a third in the 1849 cholera, 3% of the people who were treated with homeopathy died. 48 to 60% who used orthodox medicine died. It was very, very successful. There were hospitals, and the medical students back in those days, they all went to the same school. And then some people just, oh, I'm going to use this medicine, or incorporated homeopathy. It was very popular because of its success. But then it was the whole, John D. Rockefeller thing, and he had, petrochemicals. It was the refuge from his oil company. Like, what could we do to make money with this? And that's where the literal pharmaceutical company comes in, and they developed the AMA, the American Medical Association, almost in order to keep out the homeopaths. So
same thing happened with psychotherapy. They used to call psychiatrists alienists in the early 20th century, and they were only used in court to study the behavior of criminals.
Wow.
And then a few people had crazy kids. I probably would have been one of them if I ever became a dad. And they would start kind of sneaking them there on the DL and going for treatment. And then it just turned into what it did at the by the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th. Sigmund Freud,
Young.
we're making a lot of noise and having a lot of success, and then they finally started taking it seriously, but it varied from country to country. In America, they were called alienists, and they finally started using them to work with people that had really crippling mental health disorders. And now everybody has one. They swear by them.
Right. Well, they kind of went the other way with homeopathy, really. They just, instead of incorporating it, they poo-pooed it and almost criminalized. They didn't almost, because Hahnemann, the inventor, he was criminalized because he was a rebel, and he's like, I'm doing this. And no, you can't do this anymore, because you know how they changed the laws. Plus, it's very inexpensive. Till this day, homeopathy is very inexpensive.
Yeah, well, the remedies, because we don't call them drugs or products. The remedies are all derivative. I remember, I talked this afternoon, I took notes. They're derivative of the plant, animal, and mineral kingdoms. Now, it's interesting. I just went for an MRI, and they gave me that imaging stuff that really, for some reason, I had a terrible reaction to it. And I'm taking, well, basically feldspar. I forget what it's called. Something like zeolite, which is a mineral, and it's actually getting all the toxins out of me. It's a really interesting chemical effect, which I won't go into here because that'll take an hour, and we don't want to do that. But what is the industry doing to work against the naysaying from the AMA and the FDA and all those people?
First of all, there's plenty of studies. There's lots of studies proving its efficacy, although they're, it's the naysayers are the ones who don't look at those studies. Plus, the pharmaceutical companies are the ones that conduct studies for their stuff. But, there's always a battle with homeopathy, because just recently, in Whole Foods, I'm sure people, if they know homeopathy, those little blue tubes, they're the very popular ones. Boiron is the brand, and you see them in a lot of pharmacies, not like CVS or Walgreens, but like a regular, like the Apthorpe pharmacy. They have them. And
Amazon.
Amazon, exactly. Amazon has them. And Whole Foods always had them, but now Whole Foods is taking their single remedies off the shelves and just using like combo remedies, like the flu one, or the, just certain remedies that are
takes all the fun out of it
with combos. And that's a big thing. Like, the homeopaths are really fighting that, because people will follow suit with what Whole Foods is doing. So there's always a battle, and there's always a battle, but and people will say, well, there's nothing in it, it's just water, but water holds memory, and that's been proven. I mean, there's been a Nobel laureate, his Luc Montague. He was he did so much brilliant work, and he was showing how water has a memory and it holds DNA memory. And of course, they put him into a, little trailer to do his studies because they weren't going to fund that because they don't want to know that. And then I just picked up this book because, of course, we all heard of this book. I'm sure it's, I don't know, Masaru Emoto, and it's the hidden messages in water. And it shows the crystal that forms in, like, when music, like Mozart is playing, and water will hold this beautiful, like snowflake, like crystal. And if it's like, heavy metal music, it's a distorted kind of, so water holds memory. So that's my point. Water holds memory. It contains information. So that's why the remedies work. So the naysayers are like, well, there's nothing in it. It's water. And then the other reason why they don't believe it works is because there's a science. Because it works, but there's a science to it. And if it's not applied properly, and if you're using it as a palliative thing, like medicine, like regular Western medicine, you take aspirin, you have a headache. No, our point is to cure you. So we want to get to the root cause. So like, if I'm going to take your case, I'm going to find out, we call it never well since. When did it start? Like, this started like 30 years ago when I was pregnant. Oh, okay. So we're going to pull that apart, find the mental, emotional aspect of it, the symptoms of it. And we're going to try and go in and recreate that symptom with a remedy and trigger your own body, because all the remedy does is it stimulates your vital force to heal itself. The body knows how to heal. You cut yourself, you're not like, it's going to heal. You don't worry about it.
Like, leave it alone.
Right. So we don't constantly need outside sources. So what the remedies, they're almost like jumper cables, where your body's like, maybe, not making the right connection. We're just going to let it do its own job to heal itself. So we can go back in time almost and heal that thing. And we can't use the CURE word because we're not allowed, but that's the point. We're trying to get to the core of it and make it non-existent, not just palliate a symptom.
Right.
So when people say it doesn't work, well, they're not using it properly, or they're
not patient.
They're impatient, and they're not taking a remedy that matches the frequency of their disease.
Yeah. Now, you do this in an intake interview, and I know that you didn't just get up 2 weeks ago and start Googling all this stuff. You had some pretty serious training.
I did, yes.
It was like, what, a 4-year?
Sorry, I wasn't supposed to scratch my name. 4 years. My school was 4 years. And I actually took longer because I did a little online course first. So I did like 5 years, and it's an intense training. There's a lot, clinical work we do. And it's a science, it's a philosophy, it's medicine, and it's also quantum. And that's what makes it difficult. And that's my other little piece I love to say about the naysayers, like there's the light spectrum, and we can see just the visible light spectrums, like this tiny little bit. We don't see the infrared and the microwave and the beta, all these other waves. We don't see them. So therefore it, because it doesn't exist. Well, it does exist. So energy, it's in the quantum field. So just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not real. So, that's part of the thing, I think, of any energy medicine, any healer that's working in, metaphysical or quantum.
Anything, any kind of alternative medicine.
It's alternative medicine.
Yeah. And I know, part of your training is to, your assessment. When you take somebody in for an intake, what does it take, about 90 minutes, 2 hours?
Yeah,
There's a lot of questions about lifestyle. What do you have to ask people? You have to get to know every single thing about them to be able to recommend the perfect remedy for them.
Well, and also we like to look at a timeline. So you like to go back and just see different things because, you have a baby and they're like this pure little form. And there's like 4 remedies maybe that are babies or constitutional remedies, right? But then life layers on top of you all these different bumps in your road. So we like to go back and like unwind the tape. Go back and take this layer off, and then the next symptoms will come up. And very often we call it the return of old symptoms, because things you haven't felt since, 1975, now you have these same things. Well, that's a good thing in homeopathy, because it's rewinding the tape and
Getting
bringing
back to
up,
the origin.
it's like the
Yeah.
peeling the onion away,
Mhm.
and you're bringing up old things.
I would love to feel what I felt in 1975. I was in my 20s. It was a glorious time. So somebody comes to you and you give them an assessment and then you recommend a remedy.
Mhm.
How do they get it?
Well, they can get it from Amazon, I guess. I will
Mhm,
recommend a remedy. There are places to get them, like we mentioned.
mhm,
There's this great
mhm.
place in the city, if anyone's in New York City, Bigelow down on Ninth Avenue,
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Street, Ninth
They're
Street.
amazing.
They're
Yeah.
amazing, and they have
Mhm,
an amazing every remedy you need. They have a great homeopathy
mhm,
department, but many pharmacies that, like I said earlier, like private pharmacies have
mhm,
them. Whole Foods used to have them. Vitamin Shop has them. You can
mhm,
order them online,
mhm,
and if it's a remedy that is more for a professional to prescribe or
mhm.
recommend,
Recommend. Yeah.
I mean, um,
Because we have
then
these state laws and regulations that could put you
right,
in jail
we
for
can
saying
only
the wrong
recommend,
word.
my recommendation to a homeopathic pharmacy.
Mhm.
There are those also. So that's how we'll get the remedies. But it's a real good idea if you're gonna be working with homeopathy is to have a kit. Because it's nice to
Yeah.
have on hand, like, I don't feel well, you call me, well, what can I take? You have the kit. You
Mhm.
don't have to like try and get it. If you don't feel well, you don't need to get it in 3 days,
Okay, cool. So they have different kinds of kits.
There's different kinds of kits. There are some like Hahnemann, Samuel Hahnemann is the founder of homeopathy. So it's Hahnemann Labs in California. They have, you can make your own, like to
Oh,
decide
cool.
what remedies are in your kit. There's pet kits, there's travel kits, there's basic emergency kits.
Hmm.
So there's quite a bit of,
So
there's a,
pretty much in the retail end of it, from what you've experienced, you like, say I want to get a kit, and I don't know
Mhm,
what the hell I'm doing, but I want a basic kit for whatever I might get.
mhm.
Do they put them together sensibly? I mean, you know.
Yeah, yes, because you know what? There's remedies called polycrests, which are the most
Hmm.
popular remedies because they deal with the basic things, like
Hmm.
everybody gets certain things. So that's
Hmm.
like an 18 remedy kit, I believe. And you'll manage, like, for example, apis is in there, which is bee venom. So if you're going to
Hmm.
get stung by a bee, you're going to take apis. Lachesis probably is not in there, but the basic ones like arsenicum, which is like it's a poison, arsenic, right? So it's
Hmm.
food poisoning. Great remedy for food poisoning.
Oh, cool.
So
All
things
right.
like that, right? Aconite, a
Mhm.
remedy, something comes on suddenly, like, oh, I just like all of a
That's
sudden,
in Monkshood, right?
what's that?
Aconite is in monkshood. It's derived from
That's it.
monkshood, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful flower. Kill you if you eat enough of
Yeah,
it, but
well,
they're
there's a lot of
gorgeous to look at.
poisons make great medicine.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, everything is pretty toxic. It's just about understanding. And what I love about what you're explaining is that you're just basically getting the essence of it
Mhm.
and
It's
not
the
the whole thing.
signature, right? The signature of the
Yeah.
remedy. Hmm.
Okay. So we just did that. And then, okay, one last question before I open you up to the floor. Um, Does it work in tandem with Western medicine, or do you have to just give up one to do the other?
No, no, it's considered complementary alternative
Okay,
medicine.
all right,
So,
good.
yes, because
Mm,
Western medicine is working physically in the crude form. It's working on the physical plane. Homeopathy
mhm,
is working on the energy plane. So you can do them at the same time.
okay,
You never, do one if you're
yeah. So
prescribed.
it's
You never
yeah,
do that.
one more question. Say I have like a really bad cold, like I'm getting over right now. I've been having colds since I'm like 1 year old. So I would have to work back 70 years.
Well, you present in a certain way. Well, then we can, there's miasmatic, miasm is
Mm,
like a deep-rooted or
mm,
latent dis
mhm.
disease, let's call it that, in your lineage or
Mm.
your
I guess
DNA.
what I'm asking is if what about things that you do need a quick fix for?
Oh, well, that's an acute. And
Okay,
that's,
so then there
yeah,
is a category for that
yeah,
that's
yeah.
effective.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's an
good.
acute. Yeah. And as far as acutes go, it's good to have the kit because you can kind of nip things. Like, oh, I don't feel like it. Hurry up, take some aconite real quick. And you can nip a lot of like colds and sore throats and things like that if you take the remedy right away. There's certain remedies that are for the at first signs of something. And even during the C word, COVID, I could we say that? I don't know. I don't know. We were taking them preventatively. So it also works preventatively because, you know, there's with the typical
They're
symptoms.
alleviating symptoms, right?
And then
Oh,
you
good.
just build a little up for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then get everybody all feeling well enough to go in and get that mRNA shot. There's a commercial product that is sold in drugstores, and it sounds an awful lot like it might be using the tenets of homeopathy. Zicam, do you know it? It's a
Zycam.
zinc base, and then there's other minerals in it. And I have the little plunger spray because the minute you feel yourself getting a cold, you shoot it up your nose and you don't go to full symptom.
I don't know what's in, I don't know if it's homeopathic potencies. And, you know, I don't know if
I have
it's
no idea, but I'm just saying it sounds similar because it's not, you don't need a prescription. There's
right.
no chemicals in it. It's mostly minerals. And so good, at least
Good, at
other
least.
people are getting onto something, and it's opening people's minds up to different types of therapies.
And also, I think what's really good, what's happening lately is people are understanding, like, let's heal the minute part. Like there's cell, like even in homeopathy, we have cell salts, you know, the minerals, and like you nourish the cell, you nourish the smallest portions of your body. And, you know, the cells talk to each other. And now all the cells are healthy. And then the heart cells are healthy and the lung cells are healthy.
So it's like, yo, cell, what up?
What up? And then they, you know, you get healthy from the smallest part. You build up that, and you don't need to target specific. We look at it holistically.
Okay, well, I'd like to know if anybody out there has any questions for you. And as I said, you can put them in chat if you're camera shy. If you want to appear on camera, you can use the raise hand function. But it would be interesting because I bet you that there's a lot of people that have maybe something chronic or something frequent. And, you know, I don't like a lot of pharmaceuticals because they beat the hell out of me. And I would love alternatives to some things that, you know, they get rid of what I've got, but they just make me feel like I'd rather be dead. Because I'm really sensitive to a lot of those things. It might be, you know, the Anthony that I was in the 70s and 80s, and it also might be because of my size and my own physiology. So I'd like to get off the screen and unpin myself so I can hide and smoke. But if anyone has any questions, please put them in chat. And if you want to appear on camera, use the raise hand function. So I'm going off. You will hear my voice because I just hate dead air more than I hate anything. Now it's only you.
No.
So yeah, there you are, baby. It is all of you. So if anyone has any questions for Stacy about specific ailments or remedies or anything about homeopathy that they don't understand, now is the time. And you know, I want to do the Jeopardy music.
Well, I'll just say one thing that I wanted to say about homeopathy is that it lets you be part of your own healing process. You know, it makes you become aware. You're going to pay attention. You're going to tune into yourself more, because it's based on the terrain theory versus the germ theory, which is your body knows how to heal itself, and you have a constitution, and you're susceptible to certain things because that's your constitution. And it's not about like something's always attacking you and you're always on the defense. So it allows you to be part of your own healing. You know, you can take part in that, knowing that your constitution, this is the way I react to something. These are my emotions, and you know, this remedy helps with that. It's just all-encompassing kind of healing modality that allows you to become more aware of who you are, how you respond to things in the environment, rather than the environment just always coming at you. So I think that's important for healing on any level, no matter. That's my,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Now, if somebody wanted an appointment with you and you can't make it into the city, I mean, how do you work that? Do you do them remotely?
Yes, virtual is real easy. We can do this. I can talk to you.
Yeah, we
See
can
you.
Zoom. But
Yeah.
also, there are going to be some people that might want a face-to-face appointment. So I know that you and I discussed you maybe being at Astro West one day a month or something else like that. Are you still down with that?
Yeah, I'm down with that. I
Yeah,
think we said like a Sunday, the first Sunday of the month
yeah.
or
That
something
would
if
be
there's.
cool. First Sunday of every month, and then people would know. And then if you don't have any appointments, of course, you're not going to drive down, but
Right.
at least people know if they wanted a face-to-face, one-on-one consult with you, that you'd be able to do it.
Yeah, of
So
course.
if people don't start putting their hands up or putting questions in chat, I'm going to start picking them.
Gonna call on you like school.
Ah, Felicity, is there a
Felicity.
remedy?
Yeah, and
Is there a remedy for allergies post-nasal drips?
of course there are allergies for post-nasal drips. However, I wouldn't just throw out a remedy because you are an individual. So it would be how you present in it. There's many remedies. Like I'm going to give you an example, like onion, allium cepa. It's an onion. What happens when you peel an onion? Your eyes tear, your nose run, right? Your nose runs.
Mhm.
So that would be a great match. But somebody might have a lot of sneezing and their eyes don't burn. There's different combinations
Mhm.
of disease or whatever you want to call it, allergies, or there's just too many remedies to say, yeah, that's the one. And that's where homeopathy gets its bad rap, saying, well, I tried this and it doesn't work. Well, that's because it didn't suit your constitution.
Yeah. So what about, would it depend on what you're allergic to?
It depends on many things.
Mhm.
It depends on, well, exactly how you're presenting. Post-nasal drip, yeah,
Mhm.
there's, like I said, there's a lot of remedies for, if you saw a materia medica, it's like
Uh-huh.
this. There's a lot of
I
remedies.
just got a I just got a text from somebody. Postpartum.
Yeah,
Is
but
there
we have a lot of hormonal remedies. And again, it's not like I'm going to say, here's the postpartum. No, because it's an individualized
Mhm.
medicine, science, really.
Yeah,
Yes, there's remedies I can list off a bunch of hormonal remedies, but that might not be the right remedy for you.
for that person. So it's really been
Right.
an in-depth conversation.
Like
What about
sepia is really
menopause?
sepia, if you want to look it up. Sepia is the ink of a cuttlefish, and it's an excellent woman's remedy. And it has
Mhm.
that a lot of like there's keynotes to all these. So a big keynote to sepia is you can't stand anybody, like you're so drained and everyone's bugging you and you just like want to run away and hide. But it has this heavy feeling like your insides are gonna fall out. And and the interesting thing about sepia is that you feel better for like dancing, but you just can't be
Okay.
bothered with a lot of other things. So there's this whole picture around it, but it's a very important remedy for women around hormones. And it's a really great remedy during pregnancy because it's like it's very heavy, it's a very heavy, and the uterus feels heavy. It's very heavy remedy is. So, but that's one thing, but maybe this person doesn't have those symptoms. They're depressed because, other hormonal reasons. So I
So you're
can't just,
recommending remedies for symptoms, not so much a condition.
yeah, no, because then it
Mhm.
would be Western medicine, then
Gotcha. Okay.
it's not homeopathy anymore.
Okay. We got another one from Keisha. It says, thank you so much, Stacy. Are there other alternative medicines that this works particularly well with?
Acupuncture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but it's kind of nice, has a lot of similar, works. The philosophy is very similar. I
Mhm.
mean, they come from two different worlds, but they work very well together. Acupuncture and homeopathy do. I mean, I do, I'm a yoga teacher and I do some other body work. And I mean, I just feel like homeopathy just works with everything, it's just life. Like it's how I identify people. A good friend of mine, she's a homeopath, and we're like, oh my God, that person's so arsenical. Oh, did you see that? Like that's how we see the world, because you can't help it. But you can incorporate it with anything. But I know acupuncture, lots of homeopaths practice acupuncture successfully. So I would say acupuncture.
And for anybody who's a little squeamish about acupuncture and needles, acupressure is just as effective. Keisha put a heart up there, so
Thanks,
you're
Keisha.
getting some love from Keisha.
Thank you, Keisha.
I'm trying to think when I could have used you in my past. Oh, I know when my mother was going through menopause,
Uh-huh.
she was doing like really weird stuff. Like I remember this is probably around the 70s when big Sauvage hair was very popular, and hers is always very neat. And she had this curly thing, and she came home, and I thought, did she get a dog? Because I heard barking. And I went downstairs, and she was standing in the foyer in front of a credenza that had a mirror, and she was singing "How Much Is That Doggy" in the window and barking at herself because she hated her hair. And then in February, every window would go up, and we would be like freezing cold, and I'd be following behind her, putting them down. It was very, very extreme comparatively to a lot of other people. So is that something that can at least be curbed? Because I called their doctor and he gave her some horrible thing that was outlawed 2 or 3 years later, but it got her through her changes in 15 minutes, but it could not have been good for her. Um,
You know,
so
what it made me think of? We use the remedies like the animals. We use the milk of the dog, the milk of the cat,
really,
and lacaninum, which is the milk of the dog. I might have considered that for your mom since she was barking at herself. That's like a red
yeah,
flag.
yeah, because I called their doctor. I said, "You hear that?" He goes, "Yeah, did you get a puppy?" It's like, no, it's your patient. It's like, do something. He says, I'll just call something in, go there in 15 minutes and pick it up. And I think it was called Escatrol, which
Oh, yes,
I
I'd
don't
give her the remedy of the milk, the lacaninum, the milk of the dog.
know. The
I
dog
would
that barked
give
at
that to
you.
her off the bat if she was barking, no doubt.
I just sent her back to the hairdresser after I dosed her. It's like, now go back and get that taken care of because I can't live with this anymore. It was really a little rough. This is fascinating though, that how this works, how you really sort of judge the symptoms.
You do. I mean,
Uh,
there are certain things like, there's a remedy,
mhm,
ruta gravenolis.
mhm,
It's a tendon remedy. So you know what? It's for tendon. So it works kind of, you're not going to
uh-huh.
miss. I'm going to give you that right off the bat, right? Or phosphorus is like you get people who get bloody noses or bleed real easily, and phosphorus. I'm going to give you that because I know that's a keynote of the remedy. But we don't like to just do that because then therapeutically, like if we start doing that, it's palliative and then it becomes just like Western medicine.
I just put a link in chat. If anybody would like to book an appointment, either virtual in person with Stacy or anybody else, go to awunderground.com. It's a very cool site now that we have it all sparked up and it's no longer as sluggish as it used to be.
It's
So you
nice
can
now.
book that way, or even request, a little email back and forth and get the ball rolling. Does anyone else have any questions or testimonials? Taylor, you must have some testimonials.
Taylor's been my guinea pig my whole life.
Always will be, Mom.
Thank you, Belle.
So you can vouch for this, huh? Yeah. You have the best kids, probably because of homeopathic remedies.
Yeah.
So, okay. This was kind of fun. So if anybody else has any questions, this is your big shot. If not, we will wrap. But you've been great. Actually, I'm going to pin myself back now with this little voodoo thing. Pin. And I want to thank you for your time. And this has been really informative.
This is
And
fun.
I'll be calling you for all kinds of things. Like probably start out with hangovers and simple stuff like that.
Nux vomica, great hangover remedy.
What's it called?
Nux vomica,
That
poison nut.
sounds
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a great, that's another one, Nux vomica. It's a hangover remedy and it's a great remedy.
We just got from Felicity, this was very interesting and very informative. Thank you. And thank
You're
you for
very
coming. Thank
welcome.
you all for coming.
Thanks for coming.
So I think we're going to wrap.
Yeah.
And oh, Keisha said she may make an appointment soon. Excellent. So I'm going to stop the recording. Bye.